Hey City Velocity Volunteers, my name is Gretchen Kleinsasser, and I'm going to just give you a quick rundown of what we went over this morning with some volunteers. The first thing to note is this quote. It's just one of those that really speaks to me, that we can't control the wind, but we can direct the sails. So the hope of today and my goal for you is that you can learn how to direct the sails with the kids that you work with. So we're going to just buzz through this. There's tons of links and additional resources, as well as I encourage you to connect with those that were here this morning with us. Let's just see how I can. There we go. So I'm Gretchen. That's me. I'm here because I love kids, and I am really encouraged to support adults with tools so that they can manage their environment so kids can thrive. Basically, by day, I'm an elementary school principal. Prior to that, I was a coach of teachers in both a Spanish immersion setting and a general education setting. And then I was an immersion teacher before that for Spanish. So I just have a huge passion and made a lot of mistakes along the way, even last year with the new staff. And so I just think it's important to just be real. And if it's something that's not working, just to revisit that. A couple things that you can look later at your leisure. I believe strongly in that you need to love kids first and build a strong relationship, and kids will know if you truly care about them or not. So even if you don't like them, you need to fake it. Find something positive about them because they will know if you don't like them. So check out that link at the bottom there where Every Kid Deserves a Champion. And then if you get a chance to see Love Them First, it's a documentary about Lucy Laney here in Minneapolis. It's an incredible story about an amazing principal. So focus on the positive as much as you can. State things in the positive and try to deposit positively into students' banks, their emotional bank account basically. So for every 5 positive things you can say, you can then either redirect them or basically make a withdrawal. So find great things about them and not just good job, awesome job, fantastic, but put something after that. Like, it was really awesome how you welcomed in a new visitor, or I loved that you raised your hand because it allowed everyone else to know you wanted to speak. So thinking of specific things that you wanted to acknowledge. It's also, it's kind of a shift in your mindset if you're not already into this, but to state the directions, things you want kids to do, state it in the positive. And then as much as you can, connect with the caregivers of those students that you work with, because when you deposit into that, that will be helpful for you if you ever have to then make a withdrawal or have a more challenging conversation. These are like elementary examples, so you'll have to be a little creative with your own students. So basically, as opposed to when kids are running in the hallway, you don't say, no running or stop running. But say, please use your walking feet, or we use our inside voices, or I'm going to call on students who have their hands up, things like that. So I kind of went over those strategies quick. The love them first, focus on the positive. I'm going to give you another strategy called first then. And then there's this term, it's newer, I would say. It's called the warm demander. And that's our goal. You want to have high expectations, but lots of love. And then basically walking through setting norms, group norms with students so that you can get to the work of Velocity. So these are just some other quotes that you can use with kids. The first then strategy, and this works, I have a 3-year-old, so this works really well with a 3-year-old. It works really great with 6th graders who aren't paying attention, and you can do this with adults. Like, first we're going to run through the presentation, then we are going to plan for Velocity. Or like it said here, first we're going to open in prayer, then we'll have a warm-up game. First, let's clean up the chairs, then we're going to eat popcorn. You'll notice there's not the word if. So you're not putting a qualifier on it. So if you pick up your chairs, then we will eat popcorn. You just say, first we pick up the chairs, then we'll eat popcorn, because then it gives them an out to do that. So there's more in the presentation. As I'm realizing, my screen here is a little, I don't know if you can see it. Yeah, it's moving around. So you can't see all the slides. So check those out at your leisure. The warm demander. So this is basically someone with high expectations with tons and tons of love. So I encourage you to read through that. If you want to know more, click on that link. Basically, what we went through this morning, we spent the bulk of our time was about setting those norms together. And the key to this is it's not the adults telling them what they need to do, or it's not the youth group leader telling them what to do, or the principal telling them what to do, but instead they've decided these are our hopes and dreams of this group, and together let's figure out the behaviors that need to happen, or the environment we need to set up so that we can have our hopes and dreams happen. So we're going to watch a quick little video here. Actually, I'm going to have you watch on your own. So just start at the 30-second mark, and then you're just going to watch till 1:43. So basically it's 1 minute. The plan, or what we went through this morning, was we talked about hopes and dreams. How do you reach those hopes and dreams? And then what are things we find in common around the behaviors in order to reach the hopes and dreams? And then together with adult support, we write collective norms. So basically what happens is you have a poster board up and kids write what do they want to get out of youth group. From here, you can have kids share with a partner. Just you turn and talk, like share with an elbow partner. If your kids aren't even comfortable sharing with a partner, I would have an adult collect them and then repass them out. The key here is that the adults should also put in what their hopes and dreams are. So there is a little bit of adult guidance here. Then what you could do is have everyone take their Post-it, stand up in a circle, and then read them out loud. Or you can popcorn them out. Like, you know your group, so you need to do what works for your group. Then as you go through that, hopefully there's an adult that's good at scribing and can just capture the ideas or get the big themes. Like, obviously my thought is that you're going to want to learn more about Jesus, and you're going to want to have fun, and you're going to want to make new friends. So putting those ideas or those commonalities together. And then this is the hook. So if this is what we want and hope while we're together, in order for that to happen, we have to have behaviors and expectations so that we can have an environment where those dreams can come true. So that is the hook to the next step. So then what you do is you talk about, well, if our hope is to have fun, how are we going to have fun? Oh, we're going to take turns. We're going to play games together. I'm trying to think what other things might be. Like, you might take turns. I think I said that already. So you think about what are the behaviors that the adults and the students are going to do in order for that to happen. And you basically write down a behavior on each Post-it. So if you have 5 different behaviors, you write them on 5 different Post-its. And we kind of modeled this a little bit this morning. Then you're going to do, that elbow partner or shoulder partner. If you can get kids to share with a different partner, that's also cool. Just so they're talking to someone else, maybe. And then that pair will share theirs and then group the similarities. So you'll put the Post-its that you have that are the same, kind of stick them together. Even if they both say, like raise hand, put them together, because then you're going to pair up with another pair. So then you have 4 kids together and you do the same thing. And then you do it with a group of 8. And obviously when you get to the group of 8, you can kind of see the pattern and what's happening. But then you want to make sure you have an adult there to help kind of guide that discussion. And then you're going to put all the collective kind of themes together. And at any point, you could say, hey, this is awesome work today. We're going to pause. And next time we're together, we're going to continue to the next step. Because it depends on how much time you have. But this could be kind of the longest amount of time. Then you're going to use active verbs and state no more than 5 to 7 norms in the positive that encompass most of the ideas. So basically you want to create the norms, and you don't want to just be like fun. Like, we're going to have fun. Great. Well, how do we have fun? We're going to have fun by taking turns, playing new games, and having great sportsmanship. Other thing which is important, and I wrote this kind of in number 2, is it says, like, we don't want it to be compliant, like adult compliance based, or children don't need to be compliant for the adult. So as opposed to say, listen to the adult, well, don't we want them to listen to each other and anyone who visits? So that's where you want to think about the words, actively listen to the speaker in a respectful manner to gain a new perspective and learn new things. Again, you're welcome to draft it out with them and then say, hey, we can wordsmith this. Maybe we can make it look awesome. And I think it's important too to say, hey, I think we need to run these by Pastor John, or let's talk with our parents about what are, do we all agree to these things? So you also, we didn't talk about this morning about what can be eliminated. So keeping that in mind for kids, like for my staff, for example, for the longest time we had the norm of like arrive on time. And everyone's like, yeah, we're a bunch of professional teachers. If we don't arrive on time, that's really Gretchen's job to talk to us. So thinking about what can be eliminated. So like bringing snacks, that's not really a norm. So thinking about what that is, what can be eliminated, what can't. I think it's important, which didn't even get mentioned this morning, about the use of cell phones. So that might be something that you want to chat about as a group. And then what you get to decide as the youth group and the adults is how you're going to post them, what they'll look like, and then kind of your cycle of revisiting them. So what are you going to do to like kick off all the time you're together? What are you going to do when you transition to the next activity? And then number 3 is huge. What are you going to do when they don't happen? And if you don't address how you're going to address that, you're going to run into problems the first time some kid blurts out. So you're going to want to figure out how are you going to do that as a group, and how can kids keep other kids accountable. So that's important. Do you have a plan for new people bring new friends, or when you have a guest adult? Thinking about different ways to display them. And then I think it's really important to talk about how are you going to communicate with families? So how are families and caregivers going to know that this is happening? I think as much as you can include them in communication throughout, like, hey, these are our hopes and dreams. Hey, next week, look, we thought of the behaviors. Oh, now we have some norms. Why don't you talk to your child about what's going to happen if they're not followed, kind of thing. So I think just looping families in is really important, because then you have common language. So there's a bunch of resources, and I also didn't like put tons and tons because I didn't want to overwhelm you all, but you can look at these at your leisure. So this is just a group of norms that we have in one of our teams. So each of my grade level teams have norms that they use. So again, you can see the themes, and you might want to put the themes in yours too. Again, you do what works for you. These are our staff norms this year. And again, you can kind of see, I'm sorry to go back, focus on the positive. That's not really cut off for a reason, but focus on relationships. That's a really big thing. Let's see, what else do I have in here for you? This is from our behavior specialist. We worked with her before for specific classrooms or children, and she really believes that there should be a 7-to-1 ratio, and sometimes that can be really hard. So I would say for kids that struggle more, their behavior is a way of communicating a need that they don't know how to just tell you. And so they probably need more positives than negatives, so thinking about that. Or sometimes behavior is they're communicating a coping skill that they haven't yet developed. So a kid that constantly hits may be someone who hasn't processed yet, what do I do when I'm angry? Like, what is another skill I can do if I'm angry? Not that you have kids hitting at youth group, but I have that problem in an elementary school. Other things are they're really short articles. It's just kind of the science or the research behind norms. And then how do you get student voice in the norm creation? So I think that's all I have for you. If you guys have any questions, shoot me an email, text me, call me, and I'll be at church as well. So good luck.